It organizes. It states a topic. It states an opinion. Beware the thesis statement. Okay, so this is a goofy lesson about the thesis statement, but it is applicable in any writing situation. All essays need thesis statements. This is perhaps the most important sentence in an essay, and teachers will be looking for this in academic essays, in journalistic essays. They'll be looking for what the main idea is, and they'll be looking for your opinion on that idea in almost every essay. So mastering the thesis statement is absolutely essential. So what is a thesis statement? Well, a thesis statement is the main idea, point, or opinion of an essay, the main argument. You can think of it as an answer to a question somebody may have on a topic. So let's say you're writing on a topic like, I don't know, the popularity of a sport that may not make sense to you. You know, hurling, for example. It's a sport in Ireland. Your thesis would need to answer the question, why is it popular? Hurling is an ancient Celtic sport that harkens back to the days of tribal warfare, would be your thesis statement in a sense, although that kind of falls under a fact statement as well. But it's debatable how much hurling is like tribal warfare, so maybe you could discuss it there. The key is that you think of this as your answer to someone else's question. You don't write it as a question, you write it as an answer. Okay? So the thesis statement is the main argument, point, idea, or opinion of an essay. So how is it created? Thesis statements are created by a simple formula. Subject plus opinion equals thesis. And I know I've mentioned this to some of you in the past, but remember this formula. You can apply this formula to pretty much any essay, whatever subject you're being asked about, and then your opinion on that subject is what will create your thesis statement. So if you're being asked about effective parenting, your opinion on effective parenting would then be your thesis, because the subject's effective parenting, and the opinion, whether effective parenting is being an assertive parent or being an aggressive parent, or whether being a submissive parent, is completely dependent on your viewpoint. For example, and practice, we're going to watch a film trailer now. So I'm going to actually open up here for you another YouTube video. Give me just a second to get to it. Okay, so I found it. Let me see.
Doc Allen's been killed. Doc Allen? What happened? It's over at his place. You gotta come now.
There we go. Okay. Let me add the video for you.
Now at Chili's, new smoked chicken burritos are just $8.99.
There you go.
Filled with fresh mixed flavors.
Dave, Doc Allen's been killed. Doc Allen? What happened? It's over at his place. You gotta come now. Wait a minute, Steve. Tell us what happened. Well, I'm trying to tell you. Now, this thing had killed the doc. Well, what was it? Stop with it, kid. But it's kind of like a mass that keeps getting bigger and bigger.
Every one of you watching this screen, look out. Because soon, very soon, the most horrifying monster menace ever conceived will be oozing into this theater. teenagers see it first, like a falling star from outer space.
Boy, that was close. Come on, I want to see if I can find it.
An old man finds it, touches it, and this is the shocking result. From then on, there's no stopping the blob as it spreads from town to town. It's indestructible. It's indescribable. Nothing can stop it.
This town is in danger.
How can it be stopped? Mob hysteria sweeps one city. Before long, the nation, and then the world could fall before the blood-curdling threat of the mob.
Starring Steve McQueen and a cast of exciting young people.
Okay, so this trailer here is for the film The Blob. So we're going to now create a thesis statement about that trailer. What is the subject of that trailer? Well, it would be The Blob, the 1958 film. After watching the trailer, do you think this is a good movie? You might think it's an excellent movie. You might think it's a very hokey and silly movie, in which case, whatever you thought about the movie is a rough draft thesis. So, The Blob is an excellent movie, or The Blob is a horrible movie. Either one of those would be sufficient for a rough draft thesis. You would want something a little more detailed or a little more interestingly stated for a academic paper, but it serves a purpose of getting us started thinking about this. So we're going to practice some more. Remember the formula. Subject, zombies, for example, could be a subject, plus opinion, should be avoided, right? There you go. Thesis statement. Zombies should be avoided. Okay, so let's look at what a thesis is not. For example, when I was growing up, this was what a vampire looked like. Nosferatu, something along those lines. Not exactly something you would consider beautiful by any means. Actually, quite frightening. Whereas now, this is what we consider a vampire is, for some odd reason. So, a thesis is not a question, a fact statement, a taste, or an incomplete sentence. A thesis cannot be any of those four things. Just like whoever this guy is, I can't remember his name from the Twilight series, is not really a vampire. This is a vampire. Becoming sparkly does not make you a vampire. So, why can't it be a question? Why can't a thesis statement be a question? Because in an essay, authors are expected to make an argument. The reader is not the one making the argument. It is your job, as Robert says in How to Say Nothing in 500 Words, it's your job to find the angle or the argument that interests your readers. And to make that argument, it is not the reader's job to make the argument. Rhetorical questions do have a place in speech, and sometimes they do work effectively in academic writing or work effectively in journalism, but they should be used very rarely, and they should never be in the place of your thesis. Why can't it be a fact statement? Well, if it were, the essay would actually be what we call a report, where you're just stating facts. A fact does not have to be proved or disproved. It is simply true. And we talked a bit about this in my face-to-face classes, what the difference between a fact and an opinion is. A fact is an observable instance or event that can be validated. So more than one person agrees that the event occurred in that way, and you would want a large sampling of people to agree that that's a fact. So if everybody looks at, that trailer, if everybody who watched that trailer as part of this lesson saw that and noticed that Steve McQueen was in the movie, the statement Steve McQueen is in the 1958 version of The Blob would be a fact statement. There's nothing to argue there. It was completely observable and can be validated. So you want your thesis statements to actually be something that's up for debate. Okay, why can't it be a taste or preference? If it were, the essay would be unable to persuade readers, as in everyone should like heavy metal music. This statement does not persuade. In fact, it dissuades people from supporting your opinion. Not everyone can like heavy metal music. So if you think about this, this is any statement that includes something like everyone, or always, or only cool people like certain things. That's just not accurate, and there's no way really to discuss that or debate it. I mean, you could debate the merits of heavy metal music. You could say something like heavy metal music needs to be treated with more respect by other artists because of the immense amount of work and technicality that goes into composing heavy metal music. I don't know, something along those lines. You could say the same thing about hip hop or electronica or country or anything like that. That really, when you're talking about it, you're talking more about a taste. So you want to avoid these things where you're telling people that, sci-fi movies are the best movies, or Star Wars is the greatest movie series ever made, or something along those lines, because people will ultimately disagree with you just to disagree with you. Okay, and why must it be a complete sentence? Because it is an essay, and essays require correct grammar. I've seen students do this where they'll have a thesis statement that is a fragment, and that's just not good. So be aware of whether your sentences are complete sentences or not in your essay writing. Okay, so there are 4 ways you can test your thesis statement. You need to ask yourself, is it clear? Is it a complete sentence? Is it an argument? And is it defensible? So if it's a position that you're taking, you need to be able to defend it, and that usually requires some sort of research. The statement needs to be an argument. It needs to be a position that is debatable. It needs to be a complete sentence for obvious reasons, and it needs to be clear to your audience what your position is. So let us review. What is a thesis statement? A thesis statement is the main idea or main point of an essay. It is a sentence that we use to establish our major opinion that we are going to prove as correct in a paper. What is the formula that can help you write a thesis statement? That is subject plus opinion. You may sometimes see it referred to as topic plus opinion. There's subtle differences, but they're basically the same. In some textbooks, they'll give you something like forecast as part of your thesis statement, where you have to use what's called a 3-part thesis, where you're going to explain what your body paragraphs are. That sort of writing is typically okay as a freshman, but as you progress in your academic careers, you're going to want to eventually do away with the forecast element. So right now, you're not going to lose points for that sort of thing, but try to write thesis statements that don't include that forecasting. What are some of the things a thesis cannot be? Remember, a thesis cannot be a fact statement. It must be debatable. A thesis must be a full sentence. It cannot be a fragment. A thesis cannot be a taste, like I like heavy metal music. And a thesis cannot be a question. Do not have a question as your thesis statement. And last but not least, how is a thesis statement tested? We can look at it and see whether it is clear. We can look at it and make sure that it is a statement, that it is a complete sentence, and that it's defensible, that there is enough evidence to defend that statement. So that is it for this quick lesson on thesis statements. Again, please refer to your textbooks. You have a number of textbooks that you can use that have information on thesis statements that would further illuminate the concept, but that's the main point of it. Typically, I like to see the thesis statement as the last sentence of the first paragraph, the introductory paragraph in your essay, and that's what I'm going to recommend in other lessons for you.